Good afternoon. No. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 23rd Oklahoma City Planning Commission meeting. And ask first of all if you have cell phones or similar devices, if you would either turn those off or silence them now, we would appreciate that. I understand that someone has come with a PowerPoint today. We generally do not have PowerPoint presentations, and I would ask that whoever has a presentation of that sort just give us testimony. And with that, we'll go to the minutes of the September 25th Planning Commission meeting, where we do have enough commissioners here to approve the minutes today.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to do quickly there. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for September 25th. Cast your votes. And that's approved. We do not have a complement here to do the October 9th minutes. So we will go to continuance requests.
Okay, new continuance requests today. We have item 10, C6645, deferred to November 13th. Item 11, PC 10395, deferred to December 11th. Item 12, C6667, deferred to December 11th. Item 20, C6670 to November 13th. Item 21, C6655 to November 13th. And item 22, C6598 to December 13th.
Is there anyone who came today to address us on any of the items just read, which would be 10, 11, 12, and 20, 21, and 22 on our agenda?
Move the continuance.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the continuance as read. Cast your votes. That's approved. Are there any continuance requests from the public today? Hearing none, we'll go to the consent docket.
I have 4 items on the consent docket today. Item 1, PUD SP 1515B. Item 2, C6669. Item 3, PC 10398. And item 4, CE 894.
Same question. Anyone come to talk to us about items 1 through 4 on our agenda today?
Move the consent docket.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Cast your votes. And that's approved.
The first item for public hearing is item 5, SPUD 788, application to rezone 2412 North Ollie Avenue from the Neighborhood Conservation District to the Simplified Planned Unit Development District.
Is the applicant here? Give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Philip Fitzgerald, 3900 North Santa Fe.
And tell us, please, what it is you're proposing.
Okay, the existing property is vacant property. It was an old OG&E substation built in the early 1900s. It's been vacant for many, many years. And the owner is wanting to turn that into a yoga studio currently, and then eventually be a residence for themselves at some point in time. We have maintained the historical character of the building. We are intending on leaving up all the existing old industrial fencing, gates. So we've really worked with staff, actually Urban Design Committee on that. We just came back from unanimous approval last night for the project, and we're adding a little bit of parking on the front. We're maintaining the landscaping requirements that are similar to the Dove Academy, which is to the east of us, and I think it'll be a nice restoration project with a very nice addition. Right now, we're doing some investigation for historical finishes and colors on the original building we're going to restore. So, and again, it was there's some recommendations last night by Urban Design District that we've agreed with, and we're ready for approval.
Can you tell us what those are? That way we can get them read into the record.
Sure.
They would be part of our approval.
Do that for me. The landscaping will be per code. They have required us to have change our setback from a 0 setback on the side yard to 3 foot because the existing building was 3 foot. Pretty minimal. The landscaping is per city code. We changed the requirement to require 4 spaces, shall allow up to 4 spaces, just so we can, at some point in time, take out spaces and put in landscaping when they change to residence. The other exhibits would be the sign base is they want a small non-lit sign just to advertise who they are, maximum 25 square feet, 12-inch letters, no non-lit signage, and that was, I think that was already part of our SPUD. And I believe that was all of the issues that came up. We did want to, originally, the staff wanted to take down the fence to 6 foot, but at Urban Design Commission, we all agreed that it was probably appropriate to leave it at that 11 foot. It does have barbed wire on it. We agreed to take the barbed wire off and just change it to smooth wire so that it still had the historical character of the old substation.
Okay. Commissioners, any discussion? No one signed up.
Oh, this is one of those buildings you drive by 1,000 times and wish somebody would do something with. It's been sitting there vacant for years and years. This is really a very narrowly tailored SPD, minimum impact on the neighborhood to the north. So I'm supportive of it, and I'll move approval.
Incorporating the conditions that were just read?
Yes. And I think, yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 5 as conditioned. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Item 6, PC 10-397, application by L&M Investments to rezone 5911 Ranger Lane from R1 Single Family to I2 Moderate Industrial.
Is the applicant here? Yes. If you would give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mark Rose, ROSE. My address is 15016 Gaillardia Drive, Oklahoma City, 73142. And
just tell us quickly what you're planning.
Okay. We own L&M Investments. We also operate the industrial property next door to this residential lot. And our intention, we manufacture architectural precast concrete at a company called Da Vinci Cast Stone. We simply intend to extend our matching metal fence around this particular property and incorporate it within our lot that's already performing that same industrial task.
Okay, no one signed up.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 6. Cast your votes. And that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 7, application by Hard Marbles LLC to rezone 1613 North May Avenue from C3 Commercial to an SPUD.
And your name and address, please.
My name is Chris Simon, 2318 Northwest 20th.
Okay. And you're basically turning this from beer only to
Liquor.
essentially an ABC 3?
Correct.
No one has signed up. Commissioners?
There were just a couple of uses that I thought, this is what it is. It's been there for a while and it's operated for a while. But in terms of the C3 uses that you were going to permit on the site, animal sales and services, kennels, I think is not a great fit. I'm just would like to see that one eliminated. And also payday or title loan agencies. I would like to see those 2 uses deleted out of the C3.
Okay.
If that's agreeable to you.
So, I'm sorry, the payday, I'm confused. Payday loan and what else?
Animal sales and services, kennels.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
That's not something that we're interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Nick?
Well, kind of along the line with Commissioner Powers' question, we have a litany of possible uses here. And as I understand this property, it's been a bar for a long time.
Correct.
Want it to be a bar. So why do you need all those uses? You're putting this in a SPUD rather than coming and asking for an ABC3 overlay, which I don't quite understand.
Well, that's what the Planning Commission recommended that's the avenue that they recommended we
In this case, he can't meet, there's a separation requirement from residential for an ABC3.
Oh.
So we rolled it into a SPUD. We did helped him go through the uses and take out quite a few, but he is just a tenant. So the owner,
Okay.
we're trying to retain some uses for the owner.
All makes sense now. Thank you.
Anyone else? No one signed up?
Move for adoption. With the changes. With the necessary changes. Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. There a motion and second to approve item 7, taking out payday loans and the animal kennels. Cast your votes. That's approved. Thank you.
Item 8, PC 10399, application by Capital Baptist Association to rezone 1204 South Youngs from R4 General Residential to O1 Limited Office.
Mark Grubbs on behalf of the applicant. What we're doing here today is to rezone this to O1 to allow for a parking lot to support the use of the building directly south, which is also owned by the Capital Baptist Association, and which they provide a list of free ministries out of. So it's a downzoning to support the R4 doesn't support a standalone parking. We've been before SROD, and I recommend approval to the Planning Commission.
No one signed up?
Recommend approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Item 9, C6664, revised preliminary plat of homestead at Horn Valley, located north of Northwest 23rd Street and east of Sarah Road.
Good afternoon, Kendall Dillon with Craft and Toll, representing the applicant. This is a preliminary plat that you all approved back in January 2013. We have built the first phase, but since then we've run into a few design constraints, so we've had to kind of change up the street pattern and the lot configuration and those sort of things. So that's the purpose of coming back with a revised preliminary plat. We are in agreement with all the TEs and ask for your approval.
Kendall, what were the constraints that create?
Drainage and grading, specifically the grading, or the drainage, which controlled the grading. So we had to, you'll notice, I don't know, we don't have a copy of the previous preliminary plat, but all those cul-de-sacs now abut a pond. So we had to utilize a pond for drainage purposes, where before we had those streets connecting up and plan on using storm sewer. But we ran into those constraints, so we've had to modify that.
Okay. Commissioners, no one signed up? Discussion?
You're in agreement with the technical evaluations?
Yes, we're in agreement with all
Move
those.
approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 9. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Items 10, 11, and 12 were deferred. Item 13 is PUD 1553, application by Vero Investments to rezone 2400 South Morgan Road from AA District to a new planned unit development district.
Mr. Chairman, Dennis Fox and Chris Anderson here on behalf of the applicants. This is an application that I have handed your staff a memorandum letter from the abutting property owners to the north, and they have withdrawn their protest based on our agreeing to 5 different items, and those items include a 25-foot buffer area, which will be landscaped on the north side of the mini storage. When this project is finished, the project being the mini storage, that 25 feet will be deeded over to the property owners, homeowners association to the north. This is a piece of property where on the north, track 1 will be developed for mini storage. The property to the south will be developed for duplexes, and there's a 17-acre open space greenbelt buffer area that runs on the south side of this property, It's heavily wooded, will remain wooded, and that will be a buffer between the duplexes and the R1 zoning to the south. We can agree to the TEs. We've got exhibits if you need to look at them, but we're here, and the staff recommends approval.
Dennis, you mentioned 5 conditions? Or
Yes.
as part of your agreement, can we either get a copy of that to incorporate in the...
Yeah, I've given a copy to the staff.
Okay.
Grading was one issue. They wanted to make sure that the grade was taken care of. They wanted to make sure that any disturbed areas would be resodded, that the area would be 25 feet, and that we would landscape it at our cost. And then when we, before we got a CO on the mini storage, we would deed over that 25 feet to the homeowners to the north. Those are the 5 conditions.
Commissioners, no one signed up. Any discussion or questions?
Move approval with the changes incorporated.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 13, incorporating the items Dennis read into the record. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Thank you very much.
Item 14, C6660, final plat of Featherstone Addition, Section 10, located north of Southwest 164th Street and west of Western.
Good afternoon, Chris Anderson with SMC Consulting Engineers representing the developer. We've read the staff report and agree with the TEs. On TE number 3, there is a variance request. We've discussed this one before. This has to do with the emergency access road for the fire department. Before the last meeting, Mike Wilson and other members of the fire department went out to the site and met with Zach Roach of the developers and worked that out. And I think Mike sent a letter to staff saying that they had withdrawn any protests they had and had agreed with that road. So with that, I just request for approval.
Move variance to E3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance to TE3. Cast your votes.
Move
Variance is approved.
Move the application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 14. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you very much.
Item 15, PC 10396, application to rezone 1901 East Reno Avenue from I-2 Moderate Industrial to I-1 Light Industrial.
Good afternoon. This is Muhammad Siddiqui regarding 1901 East Reno. We have requested for rezoning of heavy industrial site from I-2 to I-1. We are interested to build a motel over there, and I think East Reno is a major highway heading towards the downtown, and there's a lot of, empty lots sitting over there which can definitely generate good revenue for the city. And my client has decided to build a motel which will generate about $3.5 million for coming 10 years just for the real estate taxes. And it will produce more than 30 employees when the operation will be in. And during the construction, it will generate more than 100, people, construction worker, jobs over there that will contribute, economy of the city. And we do have a motel in front of us, and we have a I-1 on our left side, and on our right side we have I-1 zone, and we are, we right now is I-2, and we just request, from I-2 to I-1.
Hotel is not a typical I-1 use, and you've got pretty intense use to the east, and you've got some recycling businesses and so forth to the east and to the west, in the northwest. It seems maybe a little bit incompatible for a hotel use there in an area where there have been complaints from residents about noise and dust and other issues. We've also had complaints from the hotel south and east of this location. What's going to make this a comfortable place for people to spend the night? I'm just
Right there is the highway exit. People get down on the exit, and when they get down on the exit to take the gas and all that, usually they look for the residence, a place to live, to spend night over there, and I'm sure that we will have a good impact of customers on our business,
We do have protests, but I'd like to hear from the commissioners. Nick?
What has changed in your application from when we heard it before back in 2008? There was a proposal for a hotel there at the time, as I recall. So what's different? What's different with the application, and what is different with the surroundings that would make it more appropriate today?
With the time, there's a more, room available for people to look for the residents in that area, to spend night in that area. And city is growing, and as the downtown has been grown a lot, and we definitely, based on the growth rate, we definitely need some more space in that surrounding area for the people who drive by, or who like to stay in the city for overnight.
Thank you.
Lee?
There are already, I know, a lot of complaints from the residents north about, the recycling plant that is there. There are already 3, I think, hotels in the area. Those hotels are complaining about the noise, dust, so forth. Your hotel is the one you're proposing would be even closer than those hotels to the recycling plant. Given the area, I'm just trying to get a feel for really how you plan to make that work when already one hotel is limiting their residents to one particular side.
Yeah.
They won't even put their residents in the side that is facing the noise.
Yeah, the noise can be controlled by increasing the fire rating on the walls. If you go with 2 fire rated or up to 3 fire rated, definitely you can reduce the noise. We have that in our mind. And speaking about the dust, I think recycling business is during the day most of the time, and the hotel, business, usually people stay overnight, and before 9 o'clock in the morning they leave, to do the things in the city. And I don't think so that the dust will generate during the night if there is no operation during the night. And the noise, as I already told you, can be managed, by increasing the fire rating, the wall. You can put, instead of 1 fire rate, you can put 2 fire rate or 3 fire rate, that can be manageable.
Okay, we have a couple people signed up. Tina Williams. Ms. Williams, if you'd come to this podium here and give us your name and address, please.
Again, my name is Tina Williams. My residence is 715 Bath Court in the JFK area. In addition to having a home there, I also work at Douglas High School as a counselor. And I am in favor of what's being requested here, but my concern really goes with what Mr. Cooper had asked was, there's the complaints already going on and what could be done about it. There is an article that was in the Houston Chronicle. Back in 2009, Derek Borg had these same issues in another community. And there were things that they did to rectify what was going on with the residences there. And so as Mr. Siddiqui, is that? Yep. As he was saying, talking about soundproofing walls and that type of thing, those types of things, that technology is available. It can be corrected where we could begin to develop that area. It's an eyesore. just to look the way that it does. And then being so close to the downtown area, it doesn't make sense that we have technology to rectify a problem where we could also create an environment that people would want to come into when they come into our downtown area. So in my estimation, I see, that we need to work with what Mr. Siddiqui is talking about, but also not just for business, but for the residences. I think it's a shame that they don't get more consideration, that Derek Borg is not asked to do more than just control the sound. The sound is a problem. It used to scare me to death. The sound is definitely a problem, but the pollution, I have no idea how bad it is, but if it's anything like this article said, it's not good. And so I'm in favor of what they're talking about for multiple reasons.
Thank you very much.
One more
Rebecca
thing.
Stewart.
I'd like to show you the color rendering of the plan that we have to build over there in the future. That will definitely give a better impact of East Reno, and that's what we need the city, need all about it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stewart, if you give us your name and address for the record, please.
Rebecca Stewart, 1904 Deep Creek Road. In answering your question the best I can on what is different, the biggest difference is my family has inherited this property. We're community-minded, and we have researched and have stacks of, bottom line is we are wanting to hold the recyclers' feet to the fire. And I'm not saying move them out, which I would like that, but we can work with them if they would do what they did in Houston. And I don't know why when the JFK neighborhood has protested, and there are known chemicals, and Douglas High School's close by. In Houston, they spent $4 million on a wall that was soundproof. They put in a new shredder, and that's where most of the pollution's coming from. Oklahoma City, they're international, but Oklahoma City was the very first one where they started implementing this. I don't know. My thought is they probably still have the first one that they put in. And technology has just so advanced. And they fought against this a couple of years ago because they like it the way it is. But they're not doing anything for the residents, and they have it in their studies, their recommendations on paving the roads so there's not as much dust, which they haven't done. Air filtration. There's just so much technology that, why are they doing it in Houston and they're not doing it here? I think it's because they're bullies, and they've got this, and their big complaint, which I couldn't believe when I read it, is they don't want to have a phone call from the hotels. Really? Well, so we should just stop progress because they're not going to keep up with progress? That, I just think it's time to. Well, okay, I'm going to go back to try to. I get real emotional about this because it's such an injustice. Back to your question, Mr. Cooper.
Can you speak into the microphone, please? This is actually recorded. Thank you.
Okay. Probably, I hope what I was saying was important. I think that if a hotel was built, it would bring up the other hotels because the standard would be set. And the others, every place around it would come to that standard, or they just wouldn't get the business. And that, as you can see, the hotel, it's got lighting. It'll make the neighborhood, the area safer. And I honestly just can't even imagine why Oklahoma City would not want that. And, you know, we're in talks with other people to bring in like a Cracker Barrel, and we just have to start. And I mean, we're just a family, and we know CFF has an army of lawyers. But what's right is right, and for the good of Oklahoma City, I think that we just need to start thinking about economic development in that area. Thank you.
Does your property just kind of touch this, or is this your property we're talking about, or where exactly is your?
Both. We have 55 acres, and for them to do the hotel, we needed to grant an easement.
Okay, so part of this is in yours. Okay, thank you. That just clarifies for me. David Pardue?
Yes, David Pardue. I represent Deerisburg Recyclers. Used to be CFF, just a name change. And also Reno King Land Development, LLC, which is the land 7.4 acres to the east that runs from our eastern boundary east to Reno. And so both of my clients don't want this hotel there. It's too bad in a way. In a way I don't want to do it, but another way I do. Yesterday we went out with a video and videoed the operations of Deerisburg, so you could see and hear what it is that the residents of this proposed motel or hotel will get to wake up to every morning. It's an important part of the presentation. It's not a PowerPoint, and it'll take about 2 minutes, but it's there if you want to see for yourself and hear for yourself what it is that we do. And
I actually went yesterday and visited your client's site, as well as looking at the site for the application. So I did see it here.
You don't think it would help?
Pardon me?
You don't think it'd help the others? It just take a minute or two. They probably love it because they hate us, and you could hear for yourself why they hate us. I mean, I'm in that conundrum, aren't I?
You've got an audio?
Yes, audio and visual. It's just from an iPhone. It's nothing fancy.
All right, 2 minutes.
All right. While he's setting that up, let me just read to you something that you all have got memorized, and that is the I-3 district is intended to provide locations for those industrial uses that may generate relatively high levels of noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, or light. These industrial uses are incompatible with residential uses. For this reason, it's desirable that they be located downwind and as far away as possible from residential and most commercial uses. That's where we are. They want to be next door to us. Doesn't make any sense to me. All of that I pointed out in my letter, May 20th, 2008.
Seen it.
May 20, 2008, we recycled 14 million pounds of metal a month. We told you May 20th, 2008 that we were going to expand, and we did. We're now closer to this hotel, proposed hotel location, than we were then. Secondly, we now recycle 20 million pounds of metal a month. It's a significantly bigger deal. One of the pictures that, if we could show you, is we've got this giant shearer, and it's a huge machine, and what it does is it looks like it's on a front-end loader or a big Caterpillar, and it shears great big pieces of metal that are too big for that great big blue that I'm going to show you in just a second, shredder. Now, what we want to do is, there's such a demand in Oklahoma City and in Oklahoma for our business that we need another shredder. and the only place to put it is to our east and to our south. And that's what we're zoned to do. So we're an industrial operation. Now, I want to point out to you that the staff report may have unintentionally overlooked the fact that we're an outdoor activity. In their page 6, paragraph 10, they said, typical land uses in these areas, you're talking about the areas, what we're talking about, range from outdoor storage of oil field equipment to large indoor manufacturing and warehousing facilities. And so let's look and listen to this not indoor but rather outdoor operation.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, hold up just a minute. How much land is occupied by the present physical operation, and how much land beyond that do you own and have zoned I-3?
Reno King Land Development is about 7.4 acres, and I believe we've got about a total of 8 acres. We're using probably right now physically 4 acres, and the rest of it that's active machinery and things like that, and then we've got storage on another 3 or 4 acres about. So if we could easily fill up another 4 acres and maybe more. It's hard to know.
I've got a question myself.
Go ahead.
What is your hours of operation?
We are allowed to operate beginning at 5 a.m., and we try to shut the shredder down by 4 p.m. if we possibly can. So the shredder doesn't turn on, though.
I think those hours were 7
They were,
a.m. if I'm okay.
That's right. We had some new ordinances that were proposed, and the standard ordinance says you can start at 7 a.m., and if you come to us and need to reduce it, make it earlier, you can. So there are instances in which we are allowed to operate earlier than 7 a.m. The shredder, we can't get the shredder up and running that early. Okay, so at the beginning, the shredder isn't running. What's happening early is that you see a big long line of trucks running north-south on Bath Avenue. Bath Avenue is a private street that I thought was a public street. Dan Brummett disagreed with me. The district court said, no, Dave, you're wrong. Dan's right. That's a private street. You go across the railroad tracks, and Bath Avenue is a public street. So you run down this pretty dusty gravel road. You were on it. And that's Bath Avenue, and it dead ends at the railroad tracks. Right across the street from the railroad tracks is a big asphalt plant. Right. We're on the right side, the east side of Bath Avenue, and on the left side is DCP Gas, and then there's Standard Metals, and then there's also a DeLisi plant right there.
Right.
So our ordinance gives flexibility to that time of operation?
Yes, it does give some flexibility to the time of operation. If we can be granted a special permit to, from time to time, change the time from 7 a.m. to 5 a.m., and we have done that before.
Do you have that permit now?
Yes.
Is it active?
Yes.
And it is active?
Yes, it is active.
Okay.
It is active right now.
All right, let's hear your audio, please.
That crane is getting ready to put a car into the shredder. The shredder's a big blue thing you're going to see. That's just the metal getting ready to be recycled. Peter's probably about 200 feet away from that. another one in there to accommodate the needs of the city. Scooping up used to be cars, refrigerators, tin cans, fences. Yeah, I think we get the idea. Okay. And that's what they don't like, and I don't, it's noisy, and it does do those things that I-3 says that the only place you can do that is in I-3, and we just, it's just not going to be good if we have this hotel, those residents waking up and not wanting us to be there.
One more person signed up, Sarah Strawn.
Quickly, how long have you been in business?
In Oklahoma City in 1964.
And that location?
Yes, in that location. And the land to the east of us was a big mess of a Superfund site. It was a refinery. And actually the EPA still has jurisdiction over that land. I was involved in that part of it too. CFF is the world's largest recycler we've got all over the world.
Ms. Strawn?
Hi, I'm Sarah Strawn. Well, according to their website, they didn't even start their company abroad until mid-1970s, and that's from their website. And they bought the shredder in, I think, October 1st, 1976.
Tell me where Ringwood Drive is. You've not given us your
Kingwood Drive. I'm in Edmond. But I'm in Edmond, but I'm one of the owners of the property abutting all of this. I'm a part of Northcutt Jacobs Incorporated.
Okay. Same property Ms. Stewart has an interest in, or something different?
Yes, this is my sister. We are two family entities that own this together.
All right.
And I read where the city council had cut their hours back. There's an article in the KOKC had mentioned that they can't run it until, it says I can't run at 5 and I can't, I have to wait until 7 a.m. to run. And that's from Dennis Griffith, their plant production supervisor. There are, as we have said, technologies that can help alleviate some of the noise and sound. I've been to the truck stop many, many times. I've never heard any noise from that. The main thing I thought, and I've seen it on the front of the Daily Oklahoman, was Boomtown. And that was when they were either not catching propane tanks or they were not taking them out. I don't know if it's due diligence or what, but they were blowing up. And that was, I think, one of the main complaints. I went on TripAdvisor and looked up all those hotels, and there was never a complaint on any of them on TripAdvisor that said there was noise issues. There was other issues, but there was nothing mentioned of noise on any of those. And I thought if a customer had a complaint, and they used TripAdvisor, obviously, that would be a major complaint, I would think. We, as trying to be good citizens of that area, personally, like I said, we are not a huge conglomerate. We're two families. We spent $80,000. If you looked and you see north of the truck stop, all of that 10 acres of land is gone, of trees is gone, along with the prostitutes, the vagrants, and there's no drug deals going on there because it's now wide open. And we did that to try to help start moving that area along. I don't begrudge them working there because they're in their right to do that. But I don't know if one entity should stop an entire area from turning into what it really should be. And as I told Mr. Cooper, it takes a long time to turn a big ship. We feel like we have purposely not listed this property on a national website or with a national company, although I've talked to all of them. I've talked to Tim Strange, I've talked to CBRE, I've talked to, and we keep going back to entities like you and say, what is the best use for this property? What's going to help this turn into a blight, just like Bricktown? If Bricktown had stayed the way it is, it would still be ugly and awful. There are noise things there are things they can do to alleviate the noise. Like the Houston Chronicle, they had to put $4 million into a 40-foot wall for noise barrier. I just found out that, and I have to check this out, according to a contract with my father, Paul E. Northcutt, who originally owned the land and we inherited, I believe in that contract, and I'm going to go back, like I said, reinvestigate, they were supposed to put in trees, and there's not a tree one. So that's something I have to go reinvestigate, and that would help too, the noise, if there was some sort of landscape barriers. I also concerned about their thought of the community when they have a picture from their exhibit of their man standing in the middle of their field with not even a hard hat on. You can't tell me that's not a hard hat zone. With all the stuff you saw falling, this man doesn't have anything on but a vest. And I'm like, that is not OSHA compliant. I can tell you that.
Oh, we're digressing now from the...
I'm sorry. But I just want to say that I think we can coexist. I think we can be good neighbors, they can be good neighbors, they can be better neighbors to JFK. That may cost them some money, which is probably what they don't want to see happen. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, discussion?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm kind of caught here. Because I think the city is moving that way. I know what's happening on around there on Bath, on the north side of the tracks. There's a really nice property that former Planning Commissioner James Williams was involved with that is really, really unique. It's a nice little row of houses on, I believe it's Northeast 7th, just right across from Douglas High School, which is a really, really nice high school. There's some new houses that have gone up in there. There's just, it's kind of being re-energized, and this corner could use some of that. And so from the standpoint of does this corner need this product that I'm looking at, absolutely. I mean, this could be one of the first major steps in revitalizing Reno and MLK. On the other side, I see some of the concerns that have been expressed and hear those about the noise. I mean, I'll be honest, I'll use somebody said kind of in a conundrum. That's kind of where I am right now. I really think this could be a positive impact on this piece of property. It's certainly something that I could see would work and would probably force the other hotels in the area to step their game up a little bit. So I'm kind of teetering.
Jim?
You know, I can see the noise, but I don't think that metal place is generating all the noise. I mean, you've got trucks going up and down Sunny Lane 24 hours a day. You've got trucks and cars on I-40, I-35 intersection there 24 hours a day. You know, that's where I would think the noise would be coming from more than, and I know that place generates noise because if y'all remember right, I've been pretty much against the metal places because of the noise and stuff that they generate. But I don't see that they generate any more noise than the highway noise and stuff do there. And most hotels and motels are built right on a busy highway. You know, hopefully you get on the opposite side of the highway when you're in a room, but.
Lee?
I know what Jim is saying, and I am conflicted as well, because I know for the last 40 years, those hotels have been down in the area, Reno. They're not really investing back in the property. I think this, it's a struggle for me because this industry has been here. We need this industry in our city. If we say, where else are they going to go? You know, and yet I know that this could be a good thing for Reno. And so we've got to make a decision today. And I've gone back and forth about what should really happen in this area. If there's any other discussion, any other commissioners, you have any other discussion?
Well, I've been of two minds, just like you, Lee.
Okay, I would like to move for the approval of this. I wasn't here always, but I want to move for approval of the rezoning.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 15. Any further discussion?
Well, I'll just make a comment. I'm going to go ahead and vote for this motion, but this is one of those classic cases where the roles are reversed and we have a lower intensity use encroaching on in this case, a very heavy I-3 use. I too think it'll be a nice addition to the frontage of Reno. We put the bus station down there now and all that. That said, if I was staking my hotel dollars, construction of a motel, I think I'd be watching that old caveat of buyer beware. I think I'd find another location, but I'll support it.
Well, I'll support it now, too. I did not come in looking at the staff report and looking at the site thinking that this was just a great idea. And I share your thoughts, having something of a similar financial background. Caveat emptor. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
I do have something that I would like to say, not necessarily about this application. The redevelopment of this area is something that is, desperately needed to be supported by the city and to be targeted by the city as a big push. It's really hard to know how that's going to work with the kind of industrial uses that are down there, that have been down there for a long time, that are going to be very difficult to relocate. You can't just go pick out another space and go, oh, look there, But it clearly is going to need more than, a case-by-case, up or down vote on individual zoning cases to get that push going. And, I'm all in favor of the city jumping on that with both feet. I think it's long overdue and it's desperately needed.
You got one other aspect of that metal place down there. When and if it was ever moved, there's going to be an environmental problem there that is going to be out of this world. So,
yeah. Well, there already is. That whole track all the way to the east has been a brownfield for going way back. And that's one, I think the point was made by Purdue. The EPA still controls some of that land because of that. But the irony of this is there's a very large tract of undeveloped land there that is presently zoned I-3. And obviously, we are pretty much begging for I-3 zone land. However, developing that as I-3 right there, the closer you get, you're pushing it to the north, you're getting to the neighborhoods. It's really not at this point in time probably suitable for I-3 development going forward. So it is a conundrum. It really is.
Well, and two, you know, that might be, the way that area is developing, that might be something we want to take on as a city to look at to see if there would be some way to relocate that. And I don't know where we get into that or not, but, you know, that, and it is an eyesore. But it's been there forever, you know. In fact, if I remember right, the hotel across the street was built way after that metal place was there. You know, and I-40 was there when that hotel was built.
At least the 70s, I know.
Right.
I can go back there.
So that might be something that we want to look at, that area, is to, you know, possibly move that. And I don't know where that would be.
Well, the hotel you're talking about won't rent out the rooms facing Reno unless they absolutely have to.
Right.
Because of the situation that's there. And of course, the eyesore that we're talking about, you can't see. Because Bath Road is, what, 1,500 feet long before you get to that site. I mean, it's, if you were going to try and put something someplace, you've got it right in the middle of a piece of land where you can't see it from any surrounding street, which would typically be what you'd want to do.
This is really just one very, pronounced example, but not by any means the only one, of kind of a 180 shift in thinking. You know, when I first started practicing land use law, you wanted to put all that heavy, ugly industrial out by the highways. You weren't going to build any houses out there. Nobody wanted to live out there. So you just pushed all that stuff toward the interstates and toward the highways. And now, of course, we don't think about it like that anymore. You know, we don't want people going through Oklahoma City to have that as their impression of what we're all about. But nonetheless, there are, many, many, many of these kinds of uses that have been where they are now for decades.
Okay, well, let's move on to item 16.
Item 16, SPUD 786, application by Opening Doors Rentals LLC to rezone 10,000 South Sunny Lane Road to a simplified planned unit development.
Seth Koenig here. I'm manager member of Opening Doors Rental. I appreciate you guys hearing our proposal. We're just, as you can see, SPUD planning for this area. We own 40 acres that backs up to this 5-acre, 4.99 acre tract that we're proposing rezoned.
So you own from Homestead Road east, I assume, to some?
Yes, sir. Well, actually, our property does not go to Homestead. It goes to that 97th Street and then makes a U shape around. But we're just proposing the 4.99 acres at this time. The rest of it's zoned agricultural. We did have a few concerns from a couple of the neighbors for the usage and to cooperate with surrounding neighbors, residents. We'd like to take out the animal sales service and just put that as like inside the building only and not outside use. Take out payday title loans and the spectator sports, that be an inside the building only type usage.
So those three you'd remove?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, no one has signed up. Mr. Allen?
This is pretty much consistent with the development along Sunny Lane. and I will recommend approval of the application.
Second that, deleting those three.
Sir? You did what? We didn't sign up, so that's how come I didn't realize you were here. You can come forward.
I'm Darrell Groom. I live on the north side of 97th Street. And I'm against this. This is zoned agricultural. My understanding that this is mandated as agriculture because it's in a watershed that drains off, that this is supposed to always be agriculture and not able to be rezoned. This property, right across from me is where he wants to build this. It's going to be an eyesore to me. Noise and traffic in and out of there. It's, like I say, agriculture area, needs to be maintained as agricultural area. There's 5 acres right across, and he's got more than just his 5 acres. You got quite a few acres to the south of me, not just his 5 acres that adjoins me. That's what I'm protesting, is the 5 acres that adjoins me to the south, on the south side of 97th Street. I'd like to see that maintained as agricultural and residential. And they can do what they want to do with the other properties south of there, because they've got plenty of land south of there, all along Sunny Lane, that they can use for these proposals. I've got the pictures here if you all want to look at them.
You can pass them around if you would.
Okay.
Can you pass them around?
Yeah. The backside of their properties come out just almost at my front door. And that's going to be an eyesore to me. And I
Can you use the microphone if you would, please? That records this better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. The backside of their property is going to come right out at my front door, and that's going to be an eyesore to me. And you see where it's flagged on there, the red flags on where the fence is. That's the property to the south of me. I'd also like to expand my house. It's just a real small house. That's all I had when I was transferred down here for OG&E. And I plan to expand my house out to the west towards Sunny Lane, and that's going to put their buildings right in front of my house.
And you get access from 97th Street to your house, is that correct?
Yes, off of Sunny Lane, yes.
Right, thank you.
Is your house the one north of 92nd and east of Sunny Lane? It shows on the map there, the one that's up on the, is that your house up there?
I think it's just,
I don't think it shows right up there on the,
just to the east, I think.
is it?
And in relation to the backside of their property,
Oh,
I got my groom where it shows
Yeah.
my property.
That's his house to the north.
On July 6, 2011, you approved PUD for the land just north of him. I'm not sure the approximate number of acres, but I do have a copy of that approval.
You know, I still believe that this is pretty much consistent with what's happening on Sunny Lane. Is there going to be any requirement for them to do anything to 97th Street?
97th Street is a
Believe it's
private drive.
Private.
The what?
It's a private drive, so we would.
What is a private
anything of
drive?
them, no.
Okay.
Your application, and in our staff report, it's the second rendering that shows tracks A, B, C, D, and E. Is track A of that, is that the north track? Is that the track that's adjacent to this gentleman's property?
Yes.
I'm not certain how this exhibit ties in. There's,
Yes, it is track A.
that would be, that
97.
one at the top, there's track A,
Right.
so his house is just off this page up.
Yeah.
That's correct. And, yeah, we're not requesting access off of 97th for that track.
Well, no, I understand, but where I'm going, his problem is visual. And I'm wondering if along your north property line there, you could come up with a landscaping plan or something like that along that north property line to block his view of your operation. And, I agree with Commissioner Allen. I think the die is pretty much cast for Sunny Lane when the road was improved and everything else. We're going to see development on Sunny Lane, but if you could somehow visually protect him, your north border, his south, it appears from his picture here that your northeast property line pretty much lines up with the center of his house, if I'm reading this correctly.
That's correct.
So if you could come up with something along that north property line and maybe a little down the east property line to screen him, I think that'd go a long way to solving his problem.
Can I say something? This property to the south of me, that tract A, that's just a 5-acre tract in there. Couldn't they make that a residential and use that for housing, just regular agriculture and housing?
Well, I suppose they could build anything they wanted to on it, but this is not a residential application.
That's right.
And I really don't see how that would, frankly, how that would work. I'm not trying to do his bidding for him, but I would rather see him somehow screen you where you wouldn't have to look at it.
He was showing me that some property has a 100-foot setback from the east property line. Would they be willing to put 100 feet setback so this wouldn't come out right in front of my house?
Sunny Lane is what, a secondary appearance corridor, is that right?
It's a highway. Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something just strikes me in the staff report, and it reads comprehensive plan findings, and it says the plan and the southeast sector plan call for limiting uses within designated environmental conservation areas to public open space, crops and grazing, recreation, and 5-acre tract residential. Also recommends evaluating new development on a case-by-case basis to ensure environmental quality and compatibility of development. It's just sort of in there, but not said like it's significant at all. And so it's like it's in the comprehensive plan, it's in the southeast sector plan, and by the way, we move on to the next sentence. I would almost expect some sort of a further comment if we get that kind of a mention in the staff report. I mean, is it important or isn't it? Just my editorial comment here at the moment. I mean, we've got I-2 to the south, we've got I-2 to the north. I assume it's I-2 or I-1 or I-2 across the street, just by the use, although I don't. I-2, okay. Oh, I see now. I see the shape of it.
You know,
It's confusing to me.
I would have, I'm sorry.
I would really like to see the applicant take a continuance in this case in a couple of weeks, meet with Mr. Groom, and see if he can't do perhaps a little tweaking to the SPUD, limiting the uses, at least in Tract A, the one most directly affecting him. There's some uses in here, automotive equipment, cleaning and repairs, that sort of thing, that perhaps if they could be eliminated just from that tract, that would benefit him. This really is very close to where he lives. He's sort of living the life that the comprehensive plan seems to indicate is appropriate for this area. And although Sunny Lane is certainly a very busy street and the die may be cast in terms of uses along there, I would really like to see whatever uses are approved here to be as modified as possible to limit their impact on existing residential.
The other thing we haven't touched on is our usual policy when somebody owns a tract of land to come in and talk to us about the entire tract and not just piecemeal it. That's another policy that we usually follow, and that makes it awkward to look at this because we don't know what you're going to do with the next piece and the next piece.
Sure.
And so I
don't have a problem with that, and I don't think, I think that'd be consistent pretty much with what we've got. Being we do have a protester, and I think maybe Commissioner Gale's suggestion of maybe doing something along 97th, real nice tree line fence or something that you can work out with him and then come back in 2 weeks and see what we come up with. Would you agree to that?
Well, would this site-proof screening cover, this is, we're required to put a 6-foot fence up, that site-proof screening does not apply, or?
I think that and the siting of the building possibly, I mean, there's
It does apply.
Okay.
And that's part of the zoning code.
Right.
What we're saying here is that's not enough.
Okay.
You need to help him.
Sure. Sure. That's fine.
Mr. Groom, if you have this list of the uses that would be permitted on the site, if there are ones within this that you would particularly like to see limited in terms of the tract that's closest to you,
The point is to encourage the two of you to sit down in the next 2 weeks and see if you can't come to something that allows you to use your property and Mr. Groom to gain some comfort as to what he's going to have to live with.
You bet.
So I'll take a motion to continue this for...
Well, we need to withdraw the motion. I think we had a motion and a second. I'll withdraw my motion.
Oh, I apologize, I didn't hear it.
I'll make a motion to continue for 2 weeks, if that's acceptable.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to continue item 16 for 2 weeks. Cast your votes. Thank you. We'll see you in November.
Thank you.
You're okay.
Item 17 is SPUD 789, application by D.W. Converse to rezone 7623 McGee Street from a AA district to a new SPUD.
D.W., how are you?
Fine. Good to see you, Commissioners, Counselor. D.W. Converse represents CSE. I'm representing the owner here, and basically what we're doing here is we're trying to precipitate a sale. But before we can do that, we need to subdivide this lot. There's a house, some bare ground behind it. We want to separate the house from that bare ground, and that bare ground will be sold to an adjoining owner who is has an I-2 use.
Okay,
I've seen the report. I agree with it. I don't have any problems. Looks like it's all good for us.
Okay, so you agree with the TEs?
Yes, I do.
Okay, no one has signed up, Commissioners?
I'll move approval.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 17. Cast your votes, and it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Item 18, PC 10400, application by Browning Capital LLC to rezone 829 Southwest Grand Boulevard from O2 General Office to C3 Community Commercial.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, my name is Rod Baker. I represent Browning Capital as the manager of the LLC. We're seeking to rezone the hard corner of Southwest Grand and Western to C3. This is a signalized major intersection of two four-lane streets. I guess I emailed, you can't use the email that we sent to you.
They have copies.
Huh? They do? Oh, okay, good. Okay. So we have pictures of properties in the area, and as well as the subject site. The first page shows the house that's on the property from two different directions. And then there's the next picture is a picture of the home that's to the east of the subject property, and it's got trees on the west side of it adjacent to the subject property. Across the street, directly across the street, is a Sonic drive-in, and to the north of the Sonic drive-in is a little restaurant shown north of the Sonic there, and then kitty corner across the street is another restaurant on the corner. In looking at the zoning map and looking up and down Western Avenue from 25th Street all the way to 44th Street, approximately 90% of the property in that area is zoned C3. I don't have maps that show the whole thing right now, but it's but I've looked on the city maps, and it kind of measured it out, and it's about 90% of it is C3. And most of that land has been developed for that use. Most of it's not developed to code with respect to landscaping, site screening, parking, or any of those current requirements. But the use categories are set, and the staff report talked about the possibility of requesting a lesser zoning of C1 or a SPUD. And with respect to the subject property, asking for a lesser zoning on a hard corner or special attention to the zoning does not appear to accomplish anything in this particular circumstance.
You mean you don't want to raise the bar, Rod?
Huh?
You don't want to raise the bar?
Well, we are going to raise the bar. I mean, you've driven the area, and,
yeah, I did.
And what we propose to do here will raise the bar. We'll substantially improve the area by building an attractive property, and what we propose to build is actually memorialized in the next part, and I'm just going to pass this around because on the lower part of this page right here is exactly what would go on that property. If you look at what's there today and look at this picture, I think you can see the substantial difference.
Rod, let me stop you right there. I looked at that, and I like that.
Okay.
Okay? And that's a nice development, and you are raising the bar. But why can't you raise the bar? Because this is a small site, that's a very specific use. You say, this is what we're putting on it. Why can't you put that in an SPUD and have that as your use? Or put it in, that would work in C1 also. Why do you have to have straight C3 zoning? So that if that user happens to go out at some point in the future, which with the expenditure there, I would expect that to be a while. Somebody comes back and puts in noxious C3 use with a 40-foot pole sign out there on the corner, and we're saying, gee, what happened to our nice little Caesar? That's the downside of what you're asking for. What you just showed us, I don't think there's any, I'm not speaking for everybody else, certainly speaking for myself. I'd vote for that in a heartbeat. But that's not what you're asking for here. You're asking for straight C3 zoning.
Well, what we're asking for is a well-established zoning in this market and on that street. And like I say, 90% of it is already Zone C3, even the interior of the section line miles are Zone C3.
I understand.
So
But if you look at that certain zoning map you're talking about,
yeah,
and look at the dates when that was done, that's not where we are today.
Yeah. But we can't change any of those. We can make a major improvement. This is my...
That's exactly how we feel about that. I'll speak for myself. I can't support straight zoning on this corner. I don't have any problem with the use that you're intending to make of it. C3 allows a plethora of things that I would not want to see on this corner. That zoning is forever. Someday people may stop eating pizza, who knows? But that C3 will still be there, just like all these other tracts of C3 that we would not in a million years allow today. So I can't support this application. And just counting, I'm guessing that you're probably going to at least take a continuance and think about putting this into an SPA, think hard about it.
Okay.
I think I would feel the same way. I think that would fulfill everything that's required. And I think that would be the best way to handle it.
Okay, so we should work with staff to come up with a SPUD that everybody can be happy with?
And certainly what you're proposing there in that picture is appropriate. I think we would probably unanimously approve that from a use standpoint. But again, the SPUD affords you the opportunity to specify what you're doing and gives us some comfort on uses.
Okay. I did.
You may want to think about sign height at the same time in your SPUD.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking taller.
No, I talked to the client, and we're prepared to have a sign height that is less than what's allowed in C3. But
well, C3 allows, what, 40 feet? Up to 40 feet, depending on frontage, I guess. But
yeah. It's more like what Sonic has across the street is a 20-foot sign, and that would be more in line with. That's what they're currently doing. We just redid the former 7-Eleven at 46 in South May there. You've seen pictures in there on that too. And so, when do I come back?
So do you agree for the continuance to November the 13th?
I can count.
So move.
Let's go with December 11th.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to get a new application up at the November meeting.
It said here in November. Talked about November. We can't do that? Because I'm going to run out of time on a contract here that I don't know if I can get extended.
You've got to give notice.
Right, we've got to get notice and everything out. Continue it to November. If we can, we will. If we can't, we'll have to push it to December.
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Okay.
I'd rather stay in contract if I could on the bill.
And that's the motion. Okay, cast your votes to continue item 18, and that's approved.
Okay, thank you.
Item 19, PUD Specific Plan 1508 by Bacchus Payne Architects, located at 13,002 North Kelly Avenue.
Hi, I'm Bruce DeFries with Bacchus Payne Architects, and what we're talking about today is the cross-alignment of the entry drive to this project.
Saying what? Say that again, please.
The alignment of the entry drive to this project. I believe that's the item. Is that right? So this project is a new car dealership. It's part of the Bob Moore Auto Group. And the site that's indicated right there is a part of Phase 1 development of this site. And I don't know if there are additional drawings there. We've got we've got quite a bit of planning that's been prepared for this site, and the initial piece, like I said, is what you're looking at right there. That's at the northwest corner, and immediately south is like the mirror image, a symmetrical piece, which is planned for another car dealership. So those two will front Kelly. And the remainder of the property to the east, which totals about 22 acres, is coming along next. It's future development. I'm not sure if that site plan is there or not, but our concern with regard to this issue is for a car dealership, the site design is such an important part of the operation. Largely, it's a concern for efficiency on the site, and so some of the things that we've considered with this layout are the shape of the parking area there on the front, which is the west side there on the left, and the shape, the orientation is simply efficient. Another part of our plan is a route for the transport trucks to access this property. So there's a way for them to enter at the north and circle around right behind the building to the south and come back out to the west onto Kelly. And so we're trying to keep that route as, again, as efficient, as simple as possible, so the straight streets are a part of that, the straight drives. Another consideration, like I mentioned, this main entrance off of Kelly with the island in the center is like a boulevard entrance to the remainder of the property toward the east, which the plans are not complete for, but it becomes a major axis connection, a focal point to the considerations that we're looking at on that property to the east. So that's a part of this piece. We've looked at landscaping along Kelly, and the trees that have been selected are partly in consideration of sight lines. We're looking at a pond cypress. It's one of prairie sentinel is one of the approved trees, so I think it will help with sight lines and having clear views up and down Kelly. And so the biggest consideration, again, is just having to modify that drive is a big impact to the use of the site for a car dealership. Putting curves in, putting angles in, it makes it very difficult to arrange efficient parking, and it's like the exterior showroom for a car dealership, so it's just a key part of it. It's part of the reason that they're moving to this location.
Who owns the rest of PUD 1508? This is a part of PUD 1508, is it not?
Yes, sir. Same group. It's all part of Bob Moore Auto Group.
So there would be other ways to access the eastern part of this site other than this boulevard entrance, which doesn't align. Is that correct?
Like at the north or south part of the property, you mean?
My question is, there's enough property here.
It's from Kelly. The access is only from Kelly.
Right.
Another way to ask that is what the staff recommendation is to align that south driveway, south side of the boulevard, or the boulevard, with the drive across the street. And what I can't tell from our staff report is where the drive across the street is. How far do you have to slide this, and where do you have to slide it to align it? Can you tell us that?
Yes, sir. It's about 50 feet. Actually, on that drawing there, it is visible. And so is the site plan on there that has the south?
Okay, I do see it.
Because we've got
slide that back down.
Just a little bit, a little further south, and then show us west.
Right.
Left.
One of the plans we submitted.
A little further west. Now south a bit. Okay, so it's a 50-foot offset?
Yes.
That's not going to work for us. I mean, I don't see how you make that work.
Can we?
Traffic-wise.
I understand. Can we look at the plan that shows the remainder of the plan for the property just south of this building? That would be a huge help in trying to communicate.
Okay.
Oh, it's higher up in the set. It's earlier in the set. Page 2.
One down.
Right there.
It's not showing the.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking for the sheet that shows. If you go back to that view, I guess it's. Okay, because what I thought was in there is the site plan that shows. If you go back up, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah. We don't have it in our staff report for the
Really?
page you're looking for, apparently.
Okay, I wonder. I could pass this. Could I pass this around?
Please.
Okay. Okay, I apologize for that. I thought it was in there. That's really where this whole presentation begins, is that property to the north-south has been carefully planned for two buildings. One of them you see there on the drawing that we've got, but there's like I said, like a mirror image of that building to the south, and it's symmetrical about this drive that we're looking at, and they just fit. And one concern that the owner has is to have the ability to operate these two buildings autonomously, independent. And so a part of what comes from that is this drive that we're talking about, that becomes the access to everything to the east. And there you can see gates. We've got the connecting drives north and south that give them security for the building we're looking at today and the one that's coming just after this one.
A couple of observations from looking at your site. And obviously it's not a big rendering and we don't have a scale, but it would appear that if you slid that a little south, you would be basically eating up that north row of parking for the second building to the south. But then you could curve it back and leave your building exactly where it is. Absent that, it appears to me what you're doing with these within 50 feet of one another, you're generating business for your body shop. Because those two drives are going to be in conflict, and like I said, I think you're promoting body shop business.
That's not our goal.
That may be the concern of traffic. I don't know. I haven't heard in traffic, but that's what I see a real conflict with those driveways as close as they are there.
I appreciate what you're saying. The layout of the site it's tight. I mean, the service drive to exit the building on the north and south side of both buildings, trying to slide it south to achieve what you're talking about. We don't have room to do that.
Well, again, just looking at your diagram, looks like you lose that north row of parking, but you could come back to this center line by the time you got to the building, leave your two buildings situated the way they are. On a casual glance at that, I think you ought to look at that.
Well, isn't that west entrance?
On the west. What dealership is that?
It's I believe it's Bob Howard Toyota across the street.
It's not a public highway. I mean a public street. It's coming out of a parking lot. Is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we have subdivision regulations for this very reason, that you want these things opposing to a line so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing at those intersections. I think there's got to be a way for you to make some adjustment, as Commissioner Gale suggests. You've got a really difficult piece of dirt here. I mean, if you can't move it around, maybe it's not where two car dealerships need to be on the same site. And I'm not telling you not to do that. But I think you need to have those entrances on the east and west side of Kelly align. And that may take a slight redesign of that entryway for the first 100 or 200 feet until you can get it back up to center line again, and you lose 30 parking spaces that you may find somewhere else. But I've got the same problem Commissioner Gales does, that I think that's just an invitation for accidents. That's why we have the separation requirement.
The property is not symmetrical anyway, and so you're going to have to do some maneuvering. You've got a drive that you're saying that you're going to use transports to come in to the north of the property and come behind that first building. That property lines up, I'm not sure if this is the street across from it or if this is another drive for the other dealership. But it's not a straight entryway into the back end of this property based upon this, what we have in front of us. So what prevents us from doing something similar to the south entryway, even though it's going to be the main focus for both of the buildings that you're trying to do? But why can't we consider, as it is, it's not going to pass. And so I couldn't vote for it because it doesn't line up based upon recommendation from traffic. So I think you're going to have to look at a way to get this to line up, and I'm not sure how you all are going to work it out, but I think that it's pretty clear based upon the fact that you've got now traffic coming underneath that bridge for the Kilpatrick, which is a limited view, and you're complicating that traffic problem by the staggered driveways from both dealerships, one on one side of Kelly, the other is yours. And so it causes a significant traffic issue because of the limited site that you're seeing coming out of under the Kilpatrick.
You've got car dealerships all the way up and down the west side of Kelly there.
I'm sorry?
I say you've got car dealerships all the way up the west side of Kelly from this point.
Yes.
Almost up to Meridian, or
Memorial.
Yeah, Memorial, excuse me. And lots of traffic because of all the activity with the dealerships and transports in and out for all of those dealerships. We don't need to create a situation that's an unhealthy intersection here. So one way or another, I think you need to solve that problem with the direct connection, and then we're happy to go forward.
I think you asked, I may have missed your answer. The property to the east, what have you got in mind?
We're still working on that with the owner. We're looking at several options. One is a corporate office, and that's what I was referring to, that this main entry drive, and I've got some drawings I could pass around that show it, but this entry drive aligns with the plan for that building, and this arrangement of this drive that we're talking about allows us to secure what would be two dealerships from this drive to be able to access that and operate the dealerships independently. So it's tight, and I understand what everyone has said. Changing the drive with curves or angles is an impact on the number of vehicles they can display there, and the transport trucks just moving them through there, and that's been our challenge.
Our alignment issue is the street and not the design or the use of the property, and that's where we have to focus.
Yeah. Keep in mind, and I know you probably will, but that's an appearance corridor, and all along the Kilpatrick there. So keep that in mind.
my comment earlier that was mainly about the property owner to the west. I realize that that's not you or your client, but the possibility of that drive actually being moved, which could be more cost-effective potentially than, losing out on what we're talking about. I'm not trying to facilitate it. It's just another option. I know this area very well. I have a car sitting at the Subaru dealership across the street now. So it is, I hate for this one thing to be the cause of, a major cause of an issue on this piece of property, but maybe some due diligence and working with staff, we can get this figured out somehow.
I think from what you're hearing, you realize that we all understand that this is a very difficult piece of property to design. And from the first time we looked at it, zoning-wise, I think we've all had our doubts about how difficult it would be to put something worthwhile on it. It's just tough. And we're sorry about that, but it's what you've got to work with. So.
Thanks for your consideration.
So will a continuance then to...
We'll have to make a change and align it. We'll
see you November 13th, our next meeting?
Is that enough time?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you saying you'll just agree to align it?
Do we have options?
You want to see it?
Let's see it.
So I move for continuance until November 13th.
Do we, if we're aligning it, if we satisfy the city and it's aligned, is that enough?
Yeah, that's 2 out of 6 saying they want to see it, so. Okay, cast your votes. Continue item 19 to November 13. Cast your votes. And it's continued. Thank you.
Sure.
Planning commissioners?
I would, Dan, you were out a while ago and we were talking about the application of the hotel. And I mentioned maybe, that scrap metal place that's been there since I think 1964 or something like that. That whole area in there is changing. We got new houses going in. We've got, the school, which has just been remodeled. We've got other things, the bus station, for instance. Is there some vehicle, the city ever looked at maybe taking that industry and moving it someplace else? Is that? Nope. Okay, so that's something that would be...
If we want to condemn the property and take it, we could do that, but we have to do it for some public use. We can't take a use and then move it to some other property.
Well, I understand. I understand. Maybe look at the possibility of that happening. I know it's private. It's private land, and we couldn't move it without, condemning it. But
the planning department could take it on as a study area and try and come up with some sort of a long-range vision for that area. But there's nothing we would be able to do in terms of either taking the property or physically moving it or doing anything directly with their current use at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, and there's some other properties along there that something needs to be done with as well. So.
Attracting the area of turnover. They started soccer and everything on 4th Street, So I think years ago it was zoned that. And it probably we really need to look at what that's going to look like going forward.
And we could look at the
we could look at the zoning,
certainly look at the zoning. and do a comprehensive look at that area and see if we need to downzone some of that property.
I think it would be an advantage to us to do something like that.
It's not dissimilar to Pershing Boulevard in reverse, where we've had I-2, we've got the city's maintenance facility now. We had that zoned industrial, we had the rail access, we had the highway access, and now we've got a site rezoned for Aztec School and another piece of property next to it for North Care. And yet, somebody could still come in and say, well, I own it, it's zoned I-3, and I'm going to put a metal crushing plant here. So, I mean, we've got these conflicts that in different places of the city now, and we're kind of...
Reno is the main corridor going down to all the yacht...
boathouses and so, yeah.
And the downtown area. And I think it needs to change. This was a difficult case to date, but it really, all of that needs to change. Because that's a main corridor leading down, main face leading down to Bridgetown and the Riverwalk area.
Hopefully the new plan, when we adopt it, will give us some more specific guidance on how we deal with these areas rather than kind of going in and cutting them up, which is what we've done. And then we wind up with situations that give us the conundrum you described. Planning Department? Nothing. Planning Development Services? Municipal Counselor? And I see no citizens, so we are adjourned, other than you all.